Hello everyone, and welcome back to Wargame Red Dragon. We're taking a look at the units for the Eastern Bloc Coalition, and we're moving on from support onto the tank tabs. We only actually have one day in the tank tab, but it has a fair amount of information, so buckle up. We have a lot to talk about here, starting with the 90-point tanks, the T-72M1 Wilk, the Polish unit, and the Czechoslovakian T-72M1M.
So one of the main things when we're talking about these two 90-point tanks is that the biggest thing is that recently the M1 Wilk got a nerf, which made it a 5-point increase. So it used to be 85 points compared to the 90 points for the M1M, which made this comparison a lot harder to make. Unfortunately for the Wilk's case, with the 5-point nerf, now that they're the same price, in my opinion, the M1M is strictly better for a couple of reasons. So some of the biggest reasons here are the fact that it has an ATGM, which allows for longer range hitting. If you know how to ATGM trick, it also helps with that, but that's a lot of new players don't know how to do that. So the biggest advantage of the ATGM is you can punch out farther, right? But most importantly, in my opinion, is the speed. 10 kilometers is a really big deal. When it comes to speed, when it comes to tank fighting, that allows you to move faster, get out of situations quicker, which means you can position better. That allows you to take smarter engagements. There's such a big advantage of having just a minor 10 kilometer difference in speed. And while the M1 Wilk does have the advantage of 9 RPM, I don't think it's enough to warrant basically like ATGM plus a big speed difference when every other stat is basically comparable.
Fair enough. Well, it's a strong recommendation for the T-72M1M. Do you take these up or down vetted usually?
I'd argue up vetted. I don't think you're going to be running 8 in most games. 6 should be enough.
I mean, that's so many points. That's just so many points.
It's a lot of points to tanks. And there's a big quality difference too. Trying to give Red 4 tanks as much accuracy as they can by upvetting helps a lot, because the big difference between Red 4 tanks and Blue 4 tanks is Blue 4 tanks are more accurate, but Red 4 tanks get an ATGM and are generally auto-loaded.
So you may as well take advantage of that. So moving on then to our second set of comparisons, we have the slightly bigger Wilk, the T-72M2. We're comparing it to the Polish T-72S, which I believe also has a stat clone. No, I apologize. I was thinking the T-72S1, but it is.
It does have a stat clone. It's the Czech Polish.
Oh yeah, there it is. Right there. Yeah, right there. So you have two options for the T-72S, and I've actually seen people trying to be a little bit goofy take all four of these just T-72S only. But returning now to the more serious part of it, which one of these two would you take, up or down vetted, and why?
So I would personally take the T-72S more than the M2 Wilk, for the same reasons that we're taking the M1M instead of the M1 Wilk. Now, in the benefit of the M2 Wilk, they're not the same price, so there is like actually a price difference here that could make the difference. But the disadvantage of the M2 Wilk is that there are actually more stat differences that make the T-72S a better option. So once again, it's ATGM versus no ATGM plus 1 more RPM. And the 1 more RPM can matter, but I think there's more benefit generally than having the ATGM. You have the speed difference again in favor of the T-72S1, which I just explained with the M1 Wilk, which is why that's such a big advantage, having that speed difference, even if it's only 10 kilometers. And then another thing for the T-72S, it has a 1 armor difference, which actually can help a lot when fighting tanks.
So just to kind of expand on that, I know some of the damage tables are a little bit hard to get used to, particularly for newer players. From 1 to 10, how important is frontal armor in the sort of heavy and super heavy tank engagement sort of situations?
I'd argue it's like a 9.
Okay, so basically the difference here, let's imagine you have the same gun on each of these, which you do, right? 20 AP versus 20 AP. Ignoring the rate of fire difference, let's say both of these pop into each other's vision, take the shot. What sort of difference in damage are we talking about here between the 18 frontal armor and 17?
We're going to be talking about like maybe 1 to 0.5 damage, what can matter basically. Let's say you're doing 3 damage a shot, right?
Versus 2.
Let's say you're doing 3.5 damage a shot, sorry. What I meant was basically at ranges that the Wilk is doing 3.5 damage compared to the, at ranges the Wilk is doing 3 damage compared to the T-72S doing 3.5. The T-72S is going to kill it in 3 shots, the Wilk's going to basically take 4 shots to kill the T-72S.
Which means it's also taking that shot when it's probably shaken, panicked, is losing accuracy, and It just gives the T-72S a lot better longevity. And this also affects sort of range scaling as well. 20 to 75 meter range gives you a lot of opportunities to increase that AP power even more, and when you do that, the Wilk just suffers for it, I guess, even more than T-72S does. So Pretty clear recommendations here, the T72M1M and then the T72S, which does give you 2 nation options for it. Do you take these up or down vetted usually?
I'd argue up vetted. I take them up vetted. I mean, the honest truth is running 6 125-point tanks in a game. I mean, you've taken a lot of losses in most cases. In bigger team games, maybe you could take it down vetted. But I'd say for most cases, like 1v1, 2v2, even 3v3, like up vetted is probably the way to go.
Gotcha. Well, that'll do it for our unit comparison for today. I guess I hope you guys found it informative. We'll have another one here for you moving on into the Recon tab tomorrow.